how much has been in our terrible man has happened or not. And I think that we need someone who's there so stable.
For years, speculation has surrounded the lives of Prince Harry and his children. But now, a bold new claim has sent shockwaves through royal watchers. Veteran biographer Angela Levin has stepped forward with a stunning announcement about Archie and Lilibet, one that's raising eyebrows and igniting fierce debate. Insiders suggest tensions are rising fast, and Harry's reaction is anything but calm. So, what exactly did Leven reveal? And why is it pushing Harry to the edge? So, what do you think? Was Harry right to have reacted the way he did? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal drama, please subscribe. Quiet before impact. The morning started in the most familiar way, calm, steady, and easy to overlook. Inside the studio, everything moved with quiet precision. The cameras were set in place, the microphones tested one by one, and the presenters shared soft laughter as they prepared for what seemed like just another routine segment. For those watching from home, it promised to be nothing more than a smooth, comforting broadcast, something to play in the background while sipping tea or getting ready for the day. There was no rush in the air, no tension pulling at the edges of the room. Nothing hinted that anything unusual was about to unfold. Everything felt calm, steady, almost too familiar, like a moment you would barely remember once it passed. But then, quietly and without warning, that feeling of normalcy began to slip away. When Angela Levin took her seat, she did not enter with drama or force. There was no attempt to command attention through bold gestures or striking expressions. No restless movements, no visible urgency. Instead, she carried herself with a gentle calm, a composed stillness that almost blended into the background. Yet that calm was not empty. Beneath it lay something deeper, something far more compelling. It was a quiet, unshakable confidence, the kind that does not need to announce itself loudly, the kind that comes from clarity, from certainty, from knowing exactly what is about to be said and why it matters. It was the confidence of someone fully aware that their words would land, would linger, and would stir something in those listening.
You know, that's the Christmas spirit, isn't it?
Yeah, can I just tell you what she did with poor Harry?
Yeah.
And in that moment, without any dramatic shift, everything began to change. She made a small adjustment to her microphone, looked up, and began to speak. At first, everything seemed unchanged. Her voice was steady, her tone controlled. There was no immediate sign that anything significant was unfolding. But within seconds, something shifted. It was not loud or dramatic, it was subtle. A slight pause here, a deeper focus there. The hosts, who had moments earlier been relaxed and conversational, grew more attentive. Their expressions sharpened. The atmosphere in the studio began to change. What had started as a casual exchange slowly transformed into something far more serious. This was not idle talk. It was not empty chatter dressed up to sound important. Instead, her words were deliberate, carefully chosen, and thoughtfully arranged. Each point seemed to build on the last, forming a clear and purposeful direction. She raised questions, not in a reckless or exaggerated way, but with precision. Questions that touched on matters many people had noticed but few had openly addressed. As she continued, the room seemed to hold its breath. By the time she finished speaking, the mood had completely changed. The light, easy tone of the morning had been replaced with a sense of weight and intensity. It was no longer just another segment. It had become a moment. And the impact didn't stay inside the studio. Almost instantly, phones began to buzz. Notifications lit up screens. Clips from the broadcast started spreading across social media, moving quickly from one platform to another. Conversations sparked, opinions formed, and debates began to take shape. What had started as a quiet morning discussion was now reaching far beyond its original setting. The ripple effect had begun, and it was growing faster than anyone could have predicted. Who was the woman whose voice vibrated across the entire space? Why did her words matter so much and hit differently? Let's find out. Credibility behind authority. To truly grasp why that moment carried so much weight, you first need to understand who Angela Levin is and why her voice is not one people easily ignore. She is far more than someone who shares quick takes or surface-level opinions. While others rush to follow trends or chase attention, she chooses a different path, one built on patience, depth, and quiet focus. Over many years, she has carefully observed, studied, and reported on the British royal family with remarkable discipline.
Or from Harry's family. They are the biggest hypocrites ever known, I think, in my life.
Her work is shaped by rare access and trusted insight, something very few journalists ever attain. This unique position allows her to reveal stories with clarity and authority, making her voice not just heard, but respected, trusted, and genuinely intriguing to those who seek more than headlines. What makes her perspective even more powerful is her personal connection to Prince Harry. While working on his authorized biography, she didn't simply observe him from a distance. She spent real time with him, traveled alongside him, and watched how he behaved in both public and private moments. These experiences gave her a rare window into his personality, his strengths, his struggles, and the way he sees the world. And that kind of access is not something to overlook. It means that when she speaks about Harry or his family, she is not guessing or repeating second-hand stories. Her words come from direct experience and deep understanding. She has seen beyond the polished public image and into the more complicated human side that most people never get to witness. Over time, she has built a reputation that sets her apart. She is known for saying things others hesitate to say. While many choose to remain careful or silent, she often speaks with clarity and boldness. She has pointed out tensions long before they became obvious to the public. She has noticed small cracks in relationships before they grew into major visible divides. And quite often, her observations have proven to be accurate. This is why when she speaks, people do more than just hear her. They pay close attention. There is a clear difference. Her words carry weight not simply because of what she says, but because of the trust she has earned over time. So when she chose to speak openly about Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet in such a public way, it did not seem random or casual. It felt intentional. It felt like something carefully considered, not rushed. More than that, it felt like the release of thoughts that had been building quietly over time, waiting for the right moment to be said out loud. And that is what made the moment so compelling. Not just the topic itself, but the fact that it came from someone whose voice carries history, insight, and a track record that people have learned not to dismiss. How did Angela articulate her words before her listeners? Which questions did she ask? Let's delve into the details of Angela Levin's professional approach to the situation. Royal birth questions. Angela Levin did not start her remarks with bold accusations or dramatic claims. Instead, she began in a calm and structured way, building her argument step by step, as if carefully laying out pieces of a puzzle. She first turned attention to the long-standing traditions surrounding royal births. These are not simple or casual habits. They are formal practices that have been followed for many generations within the British monarchy. Over time, they have become part of a system meant to protect order, trust, and public confidence. In the royal system, especially when a child is linked to the line of succession, every detail matters. Birth announcements are usually made quickly and in a very clear form. Information is shared in a consistent way so that the public is not left guessing. Medical professionals involved are often identified. The timing of events is carefully recorded. Even the smallest details are presented in an organized and predictable manner. These steps are not just for show, they serve an important purpose. They help remove confusion. They make sure there is no doubt about who the child is, when the birth happened, and where it took place. Most importantly, they remove uncertainty about royal lineage. In a monarchy that depends heavily on tradition and clear lines of succession, this clarity is seen as essential. After laying out this background, Leven then made her comparison. She shifted her focus to the births of Archie and Lilibet. According to her observations, she noted that some of the usual elements associated with royal birth announcements appeared different or less detailed than what tradition would normally suggest.
That he thought Meghan was wonderful. She was a breath of fresh air, and she was fantastic, and they had so much in common.
She pointed out that certain expected forms of public documentation were not presented in the same structured way. The timing and style of announcements did not fully match earlier royal practices. Some of the usual confirmations that people have come to expect from such important events seemed less visible or not included in the same level of detail. Importantly, she did not present these points in a rushed or emotional manner. Instead, she went through them slowly and carefully, allowing each observation to stand on its own. Her approach was measured, almost like someone trying to compare two systems side by side without immediately jumping to conclusions. Then came the question that gave her entire argument its sharpest edge. She asked simply, why? It was not shouted. It was not framed in a dramatic way. In fact, its strength came from how calm and direct it was. The question invited reflection rather than confrontation. Why would parents who have publicly spoken about their children's place within the royal family choose to handle such significant events in a way that appears less structured than tradition usually demands? That simple question carried more weight than it first seemed. It did not accuse directly. It did not claim wrongdoing, but it created space for doubt, curiosity, and debate. And because it was so straightforward, it was not easy to ignore or dismiss. What did Angela say about Meghan and Harry's claim about privacy? Did she deem it acceptable? Let's dive into the details of the growing tension amidst the conversation. Privacy versus protocol. At the heart of this conversation is a simple but important issue that is not easy to ignore: the struggle between wanting privacy and following royal rules. On one side, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have clearly shared their wish for a quieter life. They have often spoken about how hard it is to live under constant public attention. Every move, every word, and even private family moments can become global news. Because of this, they made it known that they wanted distance from the heavy pressure that comes with being senior members of the royal family. This desire is something many people can understand. Living under constant watch can feel overwhelming, and the need for personal space is natural. A calmer life, away from cameras and headlines, is something most human beings would want if they were in a similar position. So in that sense, their decision makes emotional sense to many observers. However, on the other side of the situation, there is another important layer that cannot be ignored. Even after stepping back from active royal duties, they have continued to maintain a strong link to the royal institution. Their public identity still carries royal titles, and there is ongoing attention around their place within the royal family structure, including how their children are recognized within that system. This is where things become complicated. The royal institution is not just a family name or a public image. It is a long-standing system built on rules, traditions, and clear expectations. These rules are not only about appearances, but also about responsibility, order, and clarity, especially when it comes to matters like succession and official recognition. In such a system, transparency is not something optional. It is part of how the structure maintains trust and stability. Every position, title, or connection carries meaning, and the public often expects clarity about how those roles are being used or represented. This is the point that commentator Angela Levin brings attention to. She highlights what she sees as a contradiction in approach. On one hand, there is a step away from official duties and public obligations. On the other hand, there is continued attachment to certain benefits and recognition that come from being part of that same system. The question that naturally arises is about balance and consistency. If someone chooses to step back from a structured system, then it is expected that they also step away from the responsibilities and expectations that come with it.
Yeah, that's spot on, actually. And I decided that somehow I had to rebalance things.
That creates a clear and simple line. But when part of the system is rejected while another part is still embraced, it creates confusion. People begin to ask what the exact position really is. Is it full separation, partial connection, or something in between? This is not necessarily about blame or personal criticism. Instead, it is about how clear roles are being defined and understood. Systems like the monarchy rely heavily on clarity because they are built on tradition and public trust. When actions and expectations do not fully match, gaps begin to appear, and into those gaps, questions naturally grow. Over time, this uncertainty becomes the main issue, not just for observers, but for the system itself. In the end, the discussion is less about personalities and more about consistency, clarity, and the challenge of balancing personal freedom with long-standing public responsibility. Angela's position must have been influenced by a clarification Meghan recently made over rumors about her children's royal status. What exactly did Meghan say? Did she really want to trademark their names? Let's find out. Meghan clarifies rumors. Amid growing speculation across social media and various online discussions, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, has stepped forward to clear up misunderstandings about her children, Prince Archie of Sussex and Princess Lilibet of Sussex. In recent days, many claims have circulated suggesting that the couple, Meghan and Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, had taken steps to trademark their children's names. These claims quickly gained attention and fueled debate about whether the children's royal identities were being used for commercial purposes. To put these rumors to rest, Meghan has made it clear that none of these allegations are true and that the situation has been widely misunderstood. The confusion, according to what has been observed, seems to have come from Meghan's lifestyle and creative projects. Some of these projects included subtle references inspired by personal family moments, such as celebrations around Archie and Lilibet's birthdays. Because of this, some people assumed that the children's names were being developed into a brand or used for business gain. However, Meghan clarified that these references were simply personal expressions of joy and love, not part of any formal branding or commercial strategy. She stressed that there has been no legal trademarking of the children's names and no intention to turn their identities into products for sale. At the center of Meghan's statement is a strong concern for protecting her children from unnecessary public attention and misunderstanding. Archie and Lilibet, who were officially recognized as a prince and princess following King Charles III's accession to the throne, hold titles that carry historical and royal meaning. Still, Meghan emphasizes that despite these titles, her children are first and foremost private individuals. She wants their names and identities to be respected as part of a family life that is not driven by public curiosity or commercial interest. In her view, children should not be placed at the center of profit-driven narratives or online speculation. Meghan's clarification also highlights a wider issue in today's digital world, where small details can quickly grow into large rumors. In an age where information spreads fast, even innocent references can be misunderstood and reshaped into misleading stories. By addressing the matter directly, she aims to separate facts from fiction and reduce confusion. Her message also reflects a desire to draw a clear line between her public work and her private family life. While she continues her creative and professional projects, she insists that her children remain outside any form of branding or public marketing. Ultimately, Meghan's response is simple but firm. She asks for understanding and accuracy about her family. The children's royal titles carry tradition and history, but they are not tools for business or publicity. Instead, they belong to a personal family identity that deserves privacy and respect. Her clarification serves as a reminder that not everything linked to public figures is meant for public interpretation. In a world full of speculation, she draws a boundary that protects her children and keeps their lives grounded away from commercial or online narratives. How did the public react to Angela's announcement? Did the public doubt her in any way? Let's dig into the details of the reaction from the public. Reaction drives perception. As the broadcast spread quickly across different media platforms, public attention began to move in a slightly unexpected direction. At first, people focused on what had been said. The statements, the claims, and the opinions were the main topic of discussion. But as time passed, that focus slowly shifted. Instead of only thinking about the words themselves, many people started paying closer attention to something else entirely: how those words were being responded to. Soon after, reports began to surface about reactions coming from within Prince Harry's close circle. These reports suggested that there was a growing sense of urgency behind the scenes. It was said that meetings were being arranged quickly, discussions were happening back-to-back, and efforts were being made to understand and manage the situation as the story continued to grow in the public space. According to these accounts, the atmosphere was not calm. Instead, It was described as tense and highly active, with people working quickly to keep up with how fast the narrative was spreading. Even though not every detail was clear, what stood out in these reports was the feeling that things were moving under pressure. Interestingly, this reaction itself became part of the story. It was no longer just about the original comments or claims. Now people were also watching how those involved were responding. And in public life, this kind of reaction often carries its own meaning. That is because perception plays a very important role in situations like this. When people see a calm and steady response, it often gives them a sense of reassurance. It suggests confidence, control, and a belief that things are being handled properly. A measured reaction can reduce tension and help to settle public curiosity. However, when the response appears rushed, emotional, or unusually intense, it can create a different impression. Even if there is a simple explanation behind it, the public may begin to interpret it in various ways. Questions start to form in people's minds. Why is there so much urgency? Why does the situation seem tense? If the matter is straightforward, why not respond in a clear and calm manner? At the same time, Angela Levin continued her commentary in a steady and consistent way. Her tone remained unchanged, and her message stayed firm. She did not appear to shift her position or alter her approach in response to the growing reactions around the story. Instead, she maintained her focus and continued expressing her views without visible hesitation. This contrast between two different styles of response became one of the most talked about aspects of the entire situation. On one side, there were reports of urgency and tension. On the other side, there was a calm and consistent voice continuing to ask questions. In moments like these, it often becomes clear that what shapes public opinion is not only the original statement or question, but also the way people react to it. Sometimes, the reaction itself becomes even more powerful than the event that started it all. In the middle of all these, what was Harry's position? How did he react to Angela's announcement and the public reaction? Let's take a look at how Harry's reaction filled the air. Silence speaks loudly. While much of the attention in the public discussion centered on Prince Harry's reported reaction, another detail slowly began to stand out in a quieter but powerful way: the absence of Meghan Markle's voice. In many past moments of public interest, Meghan and Harry have appeared side by side. They have often shown themselves as a united team, speaking with one voice and presenting a shared position. Whether in interviews, public statements, or major appearances, they have usually moved in step with each other. This has created a strong public image of partnership, where both seem closely involved in shaping how their story is told. That is why this particular situation felt different. This time, there was no immediate comment from Meghan, no public message, no interview response, no social media reaction or visible engagement with the topic at hand. While others reacted or waited for clarification, her silence stood out simply because it broke a familiar pattern. And in the world of public figures, even silence can speak loudly. People began to notice it more and more. Some observers saw it as a thoughtful choice, possibly made to avoid adding fuel to an already sensitive situation. In this view, staying quiet might be a way of preventing further attention or misunderstanding, allowing emotions and public interest to settle before responding. Others interpreted it differently. For them, the silence raised questions. It made them wonder about what might be happening behind the scenes. Was this a shared decision between the couple, or was it a personal choice? Did it reflect a different approach to handling public pressure or media attention at this particular moment? No clear explanation was given, and no official statement helped to clarify the reason. As a result, different opinions began to form, each trying to make sense of the absence of a voice that is usually present in such situations. Still, what remained most important was not the speculation itself, but the fact that the silence became part of the story. It added another layer to how the situation was being understood and discussed. This is often how public life works. Words are powerful, but silence can be just as powerful, sometimes even more. When a public figure does not speak when people expect them to, that absence is rarely ignored. Instead, it is studied, interpreted, and discussed from many angles. In this case, Meghan's silence did not fade into the background. Instead, it became a point of attention on its own. It shaped conversations, influenced opinions, and added uncertainty to an already closely watched situation. Whether intentional or not, the absence of her voice reminded observers of something important. In the public eye, what is not said can carry as much weight as what is said. Did the ongoing conversations have any effect on Archie and Lilibet? Were they aware of anything going on around? Let's look into the children at the center of the entire story. Children at center. Amid all the rising conversations, arguments, and public opinions, one simple truth continues to stand firm. At the center of this story are two young children. Archie and Lilibet did not ask for any of this attention. They did not choose to be part of public debates, media headlines, or global discussions about their names, identities, or place in the royal family story. They are simply children, growing up, learning about the world, and discovering who they are meant to be. Yet, despite their innocence, they find themselves surrounded by questions and interpretations that they have no control over. Angela Levin pointed out something very important in this situation. Beyond the formal rules, public titles, and media narratives, there are real human lives involved. These are not just stories for entertainment or topics for debate. They are the lives of children whose futures are still unfolding. And what is said about them today, even in adult conversations, can quietly shape how their lives develop tomorrow. Children need something very basic and very powerful: clarity and stability. They need to understand where they belong without confusion. They need to grow in an environment where their sense of identity is not constantly questioned or debated in public spaces. When a child grows up with too many unanswered questions about who they are or how the world sees them, it can create emotional weight that follows them for years. That is why situations like this are so delicate. When public conversations begin to surround a child's background or identity, even if the intention is discussion or clarification, it can leave lasting impressions. Children may not fully understand everything when they are young, but as they grow older, they begin to notice. They read, they listen, they hear conversations, they come across headlines, and slowly, they begin to piece together how the world has spoken about them since birth. This is where the emotional impact becomes important. Adults may move on quickly from public debates or controversies, but children carry the memory of those conversations into their sense of self. It can influence how they see their place in the world, how confident they feel, and how secure they are in their identity. As Archie and Lilibet grow, they will naturally become aware of the discussions that have surrounded their early years. They will see the stories written about them. They will hear different opinions. They may even ask questions of their own. That moment of awareness is something every child eventually reaches, but for them, it may come with more public attention than most children ever experience. And that is what makes this situation especially sensitive. Public figures may learn to handle criticism, debate, and attention, but children do not handle these things in the same way. They are still forming their understanding of life, trust, and belonging. In the end, beyond all the headlines and opinions, what matters most is simple. These are children first, and every discussion around them carries the responsibility of remembering that truth. How did the tense conversation come to a halt? Was it properly addressed or just swept under the carpet? Let's delve into the details of questions that keep begging for answers. The unanswered questions. As the situation slowly settles, it is becoming more and more obvious that this story is not coming to an end anytime soon. In fact, what we are seeing now feels less like a conclusion and more like the middle of a much larger and deeper unfolding event. The dust may appear to be clearing on the surface, but beneath it, many questions are still floating around without clear answers. The concerns that were raised have not been fully addressed in a way that satisfies public curiosity. Instead of fading away, they seem to have opened even more layers of discussion. Each reaction from different sides has added new angles, new interpretations, and even more uncertainty. What started as a straightforward conversation has now grown into a wider global discussion that continues to shift with every new comment, response, and analysis. At the heart of it all, this is not simply about rules, formal procedures, or how things are presented to the public. It goes much deeper than that. It touches on human values like trust, honesty, and consistency. People are paying attention not only to what is being said, but also to how it is being said, when it is being said, and whether it matches earlier statements or actions. When there is even a small gap between words and actions, people begin to question what is really true. There is also a delicate balance involved that made the situation even more sensitive. On one hand, there is the need for privacy, respect, and personal boundaries. On the other hand, there is a sense of responsibility that comes with public life and public attention. Finding the right balance between these two sides is not easy. When one side feels too protected and the other feels ignored, tension naturally builds. Interestingly, this entire wave of attention did not begin with a loud accusation or a dramatic confrontation. Instead, it began with something much quieter and simpler, a moment of calm questioning, delivered carefully and without anger. There was no shouting, no public breakdown, and no aggressive exchange, just clear and direct questions that invited reflection. This is what makes the situation even more powerful. Sometimes, it is not the loud voices that change the direction of a story. It is the quiet, simple questions that stick in people's minds. Questions that do not demand immediate answers, but instead linger, replay, and grow stronger over time. These kinds of questions often travel further than any emotional reaction ever could. Angela Levin, in this context, did not present herself in an attacking or confrontational way. She did not raise her voice or turn the moment into a public fight. Instead, she chose to ask direct questions and allow them to stand on their own. And in many cases, that approach can be even more impactful because it leaves space for people to think, interpret, and draw their own conclusions. Now, the world is paying close attention, not just to what has already been said, but to what will happen next. There is a growing sense that this is a turning point, where words alone are no longer enough. People are waiting to see whether there will be clearer explanations, more openness, or actions that help resolve the confusion. Because in moments like this, history shows that outcomes are shaped not only by speeches, statements, or public responses, but also by actions taken afterward. What people choose to do next often carries more weight than what has already been said. Actions can either reduce doubts or deepen them further. Until that clarity arrives, uncertainty remains in the air. And where there is uncertainty, questions naturally continue to live. They get repeated, discussed, reinterpreted, and passed from one conversation to another. Even if the noise reduces, the curiosity does not fully disappear. So for now, this story continues to exist in an open space, unfinished, evolving, and still unfolding. The answers are still expected, the reactions are still being observed, and the attention has not shifted away. Because at this point, one thing is certain. This is not just a passing moment of public interest. It is a developing narrative that still has many pages left to be written. And until those pages are revealed, the questions will remain present, quietly but firmly, waiting for clarity that has not yet fully arrived. So, what do you think about Angela Levin's announcement on Archie and Lilibet? Was Harry's reaction justified? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.